Hello and welcome. If you're new to my channel, my name's Christina, and this week I really want to show you how easy it is to create a finger crochet blanket. If you're new and you're a beginner and you've never crocheted before, you don't need any tools. I'm going to show you step by step how easy it is just with your own hands to make a beautiful throw. For this finger crochet throw blanket, I'm going to use 8 skeins balls of yarn for this full project, and it's going to be in the Fisherman's white. This acrylic and wool blend is machine washable. This is really easy to follow and no experience necessary. First thing you're going to do is create a slip knot. When you've created your slip knot, I use my thumb and my index finger to pull the working yarn through each loop I create. And what I'm doing is starting a chain. This chain will determine how wide the blanket will be. I'm going to chain 52 stitches. If you want your blanket to be wider, you're just going to add more to your start chain. This wool and acrylic mix actually has a little bit of elasticity to it, so it makes it a little bit stretchable. As I continue to create my chain, as you can see, it's really easy, and I've started with 52 stitches. Now what I want to do is show you how to do a double crochet with your finger. So you're going to take the working yarn, wrap it around your index finger with your 1 stitch at the end. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the second stitch, and I'm going to show you why in just a little bit. So first thing we're doing here is creating a double crochet. So I had a stitch, I wrapped the working yarn around my index finger, now I'm going into the next stitch. I'm going to use my thumb to remove 2, then I'm going to use my thumb again and remove 2 by pulling the working yarn through the loops. That created my first double crochet. Now the chain almost looks like a braid, so what I'm using is the top bump or loop at the top to go into and create that stitch. Now I'm going to pull the working yarn through. I have 3 loops on my index finger, pull through 2, pull through 2. That creates the double crochet. You will always have a stitch on your finger, and you're going to use the working yarn to create another stitch. Go through your next stitch on your chain, and that's going to leave you 3 loops on your index finger. I use my thumb and my index finger to pull the working yarn through. I remove 2, then I remove 2 again, and now I have my double crochets. So as you can see, I have a stitch on my finger, and I wrap the working yarn around my finger, so I have 2 loops on my finger. Now I'm going to go into the next stitch, create a loop, so I have 3 loops on my finger. I use my thumb and index to pull the working yarn through once, and I'm going to do that again, and that's the double crochet. This is the basis of this entire blanket for the pattern. It's just making a double crochet right across your chain. And it's just trying to use the dexterity of your fingers, and it's just a little bit of practice. So sometimes what's really good is just to make a small little chain and make a few practice rows before you start the blanket. This yarn is super bulky, so it will stitch up very, very quickly. You can stitch up an entire throw in no time. It can take anywhere from a day to 2 days, depending on the time you want to put at once. So I'm going to create 50 double crochets. Because I started with 52 stitches and I went into the second stitch as I started, that's going to leave me with 50 crochets across for my first row. And I'm going to show you why I started into the second stitch when I created my first row as we continue on. As we create the first row, you're going to notice that there is almost looks like a braid at the top, and there's 2 loops, and that's formulated from the double crochet, and that's actually what we're going to be stitching into when we get into the second row. So just creating the double crochet with your fingers. It's just quick and it's easy, and it's just a bit of practice if you're not experienced with the double crochet. But you can see here how thick it is, and you're almost creating a post with the double crochets. So as I get to the end of the chain, I have a loop on my finger. The working yarn I wrap around my index, so that way I have 2. Now I'm going to go into the chain and I had 3, remove 2 again. Always at the end, you're going to see where you had your slip knot. I always count that as a stitch. And sometimes when you're new, it's good to go and count how many double crochets you created in your first row. One important thing is to chain 2 stitches at the end of each row, and I'm going to show you why. The reason I like to do the chain of 2, I go into the second stitch as I go into my next row, because that chain of 2 is actually going to be a double crochet. So when I go into this second stitch with using the double crochet, I'm on my second row. What I'm actually doing is creating 2 double crochets at the same time. So I'm going to do 1 double crochet here, and then I'm going to show you that you actually have 2 from that chain. The main reason is that's going to keep that side of the blanket nice and straight. So every time you get to the end of the rows, you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to go into the second stitch, going from right to left. Then the rest of the row will be just double crochets. You can see that it's quite bulky, so it's quite easy to see. So I have my 1 stitch, my yarn is wrapped around, so I have 2. Now I'm going into my stitch. I have 3 loops on my finger. Pull through 2, pull through 2 again. And I'm just going to keep going. And you're using that top braid from the previous double crochets. It looks like 2 loops, but you're actually counting it as 1 stitch from the top. And as you can see, it just stitches up very, very quickly, and it's very, very bulky. So this makes for very quick projects. As you continue on with your rows, you'll see that you're using that double crochet that you've already created. It's got those 2 loops, but you'll always just count them as 1. So I have 3 on my finger, I remove 2, now I'm going to remove 2 again. I always have a stitch on my finger, and then I always make sure that the working yarn is wrapped around my finger. Then I go and grab my next stitch, remove 2 again. Another important rule when you're creating a blanket so it's nice and straight and even on the left side is you're going to want to make sure you're picking up that last stitch, and it's always kind of on to the side a little bit there. And if you don't pick it up, sometimes what happens is your blanket will start to, as you're starting to create your rows, kind of come in sideways. So we want to be very careful that we're not missing that last crochet at the very end. So here I'm going to show you, it's kind of off to the side a little bit there, but it's really important that you pick that up. So that's also going to help keep that blanket nice and straight on both sides as you continue up with your rows. So at the end of each row, again, make sure that you add 2 stitches. Adding those 2 stitches, we're going to turn the work around, and that's actually going to be that first double crochet. So I'm not going to go into that first stitch, I'm going to go into the second stitch. By doing that, I'm going in, I'm going to do that double crochet. I've actually already have done 2 double crochets with those chain 2 that I created before I flipped my work. So I'm going right across, doing those double crochets. Go right into that stitch. I'm going to remove 2 again. I always yarn over, so I always have 2 loops on my finger. Go into my next stitch at the top. I'm going to grab, remove 2 again. So it's just a repetition of double crochets right across. And as I mentioned, it goes so quickly because this is very bulky, very thick yarn. And again, if you're new and you've never done any type of crochet before and you just want to try with your fingers, just start with maybe a chain of 10 and do a few rows just for practice before you start your blanket project. And as you can see here, it's already almost 3/4 of the size of my hand, and I'm only on row 2. But as a beginner, it's very easy to forget this last and double crochet here. So it's really important to pick that up. It's kind of off to the side as you get to the left side of the blanket. So you definitely want to make sure you're picking up that double crochet. And again, this is what's going to keep the left side of that blanket nice and straight. Then we're going to add 2 stitches, and then we're going to flip our work around, And as I mentioned, that's already the start of your first double crochet. So I don't go into the first stitch, I go into the second stitch, make my double crochet, and I technically already have 2 double crochets, and that's what keeps the right side of the blanket nice and straight. And then I'm going to carry on with my 3rd row. I swear to God, Pascal has already grown another 2 inches since the last video. He's getting so big so fast. So as I mentioned, this does stitch up so quickly. And the beautiful part about the double crochets is it looks the same on both sides of the blanket. So I'm just going to carry on with my rows of double crochet just using my fingers. Pretty easy. Just going to go ahead. I'm going to have 3 loops. Pull that working yarn through. Use my thumb and my index to pull the working yarn through. Pull through 2 and pull through 2 again. And as you can see, I'm just carrying on. I'm just showing you a little bit more close and detailed exactly how I'm using my fingers to pull the double crochet. So again, it's just a little bit of practice. Start with a small chain of 10 and make a few rows. And once you've got it, you can stitch up all kinds of fun projects. If you want to use a thinner yarn, but you want it to feel and look a little bulkier and stitch up a bit quicker, I recommend to use 2 balls of yarn at the same time, and that will give you the thickness. I just wanted to give you another demonstration of the end of the blanket. As you can see, it looks kind of off to that side, so it is so easy. I know I've done it myself when I first started crocheting. It's so easy to miss that end crochet. That top stitch there, it's always off to the side. So just make sure that you're picking that up, and that's going to keep that left side of the blanket nice and straight. And always really important to stitch 2 from the left. And as I go from the right to the left, I've already have my first double crochet, so I'm going to go into that second stitch and I'm going to finger crochet a double crochet into that second stitch. And again, that's what's keeping the right side of the blanket nice and straight. You could do this exact same blanket even with a single crochet. It would just take you a little bit longer. That's what's so enjoyable about the double crochet, as it will stitch up a little bit quicker. Just showing you here how straight the blanket is on the right side, just by doing that chain of 2 and flipping your work around. So I'm just going to carry on again with my double crochets, and I want to quickly show you how to attach 2 balls of yarn together, or at least this is how I do it. I just make 2 really tight knots and I pull from all 4 sides. Then I take the 2 tail ends and I just cut those off. Because this is so bulky, you won't even see the knot as we carry on with the blanket. There's a few different ways you can attach your yarns together, and there are some really clever ways so it's more inconspicuous, but with a really chunky and thick, bulky project, you won't see the little tiny knot that you've created with the 2 yarn pieces coming together. Only a few weeks ago, this guy was literally a quarter of his size. He is growing so fast. Just a bundle of joy and so funny. Yes, we did sell the house. It's been a long 2 months, but we did it, and we've done a lot of searching up and down Vancouver Island to find the perfect spot. And I'm really looking forward to showing you what we did buy, and I'm going to give you a full tour of everything. And it's quite a contrast to what we currently live in right now. We live in a 132-year-old heritage home, and we're going to be going to pretty much the complete opposite of this. As I say, I'm going to give you all the details coming up soon. So I'm now getting to the last row of my double crochets to finish the blanket, and I want to show you how easy it is to cast off. So I'm going to pick up that last double crochet off to the side there. Again, just really important to make sure you're picking up those last double crochets. As you can see, they're kind of off to the side. And then I'm going to show you how easy it is to cast it off. Casting off a crochet is very easy. Once you get to the last loop of your last row, you're just going to cut the working yarn. With this type of yarn, I like to make a little tiny knot at the end where I've cut. Then I'm going to take the tail, go right into the loop and create a knot. Then with the remainder of the actual tail, I just weave it into the blanket. So I love to create some fringe at the end of my throw blanket. So I'm going to show you exactly what I used and how I did that. I'm going to use this Boucle by Loops and Threads, but you could even just use the same material yarn that you've created with your blanket. This is just something I had. So I'm going to create strands that are approximately 15 to 16 inches in length, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to apply them into each loop at the bottom of both ends of the blanket. So I'm going to go right into the double crochet. I take the strand, I fold it in half, create the loop and pull it through. It's pretty easy. So I'm going to go right across doing the exact same thing on both ends of the blanket. You could also just create tassels at all four corners of the blanket, but sometimes just adding the fringe just adds more character and it just adds a little bit of an embellishment. You're just so hyper. You're so big. I can't hold you in my lap anymore. Some really fun DIYs I'm so looking forward to sharing with you. How to make Roman blinds for your windows. How to make your own duvet cover and pillow shams. How to create your own rug loom and area rugs. Or if you just wanted a throw rug. I also really want to get into how to find the perfect thrift store finds and upcycle them. So much more I'm going to share with you soon, and I can't wait to give you all the details. I'm also going to be sharing this waterfall vanity makeover with you, so that's going to be coming up in either next week or the week after's video. But I really want to do a fun transformation, something a little different I haven't done before. Thank you so much for watching this week's video, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you soon. Until then, take care.